good vibe, we shine on the light. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, chat night Africa. We all over the world, chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, chat night Africa. We all over the world, chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, the only place that we give you good vibes. Chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, all over the world we are shining the light. Chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Voices of Africa. My name is Divine Chamakong, and I am anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. One would think that just as a man would like to see his daughter become super successful, it wouldn't matter to him if his wife, now the daughter of another father, became better educated and made more money than him. Not always the case. Oftentimes, the outcome is deadly. So, are there reasons deeper than the conflict triggers? We invited a jurist, a super trooper in gender matters, a development expert and peace education instructor to drill down into why a wife only seeking to become better becomes to feel like a crayfish bone in her husband's throat. Ladies and gentlemen, join me now in welcoming Mrs. Nicoline Wenushi Waze on the platform. She will be taking your questions momentarily. I will be opening the phone lines. Mrs. Waze.
Hello, Uncle D. Happy Women's Month, and thank you for having me on Chat Night Africa. At last, we got our program. This program has been postponed for like just too long. And I think the program is timely. Remember, the month of March has been set aside by the United Nations as Women's Month. The month that women, they take stock of their struggles and celebrate their achievements. And to hear this worry that a man, by virtue of the success of the wife or the education of the wife, is worried, really even makes me more worried, because as you rightly put it, if you are a man, you do have a daughter, you do have a sister, and the woman we are talking about is another person's daughter, another person's sister. And I would like to throw back the question to the audience. How rich is a rich woman? How rich is a rich woman? When we know that the richest people in the world who own about half of the global wealth are only 2%.
Well, before you continue with your question, when the United Nations sets aside the month of March as a month when the world worries about the worries of women, why shouldn't a month be set aside for the problems that men face with their wives? That sounds unfair.
Yeah, I think those problems, they have not been duly identified. What statistics show us is that women are victims of violence. Women and girls are victims of gender-based violence. They are victims of intimate partner violence. 1 in every 3 women have experienced physical or sexual abuse, and about 47,000 women and girls worldwide were killed by their intimate partners or family members in 2022 alone. So says a UN report. And that is, on average, a woman or a girl is killed every 11 minutes in all the regions of the world. These are the statistics for women. And maybe if we have those statistics for men, if men can come up with the problems that they claim they are facing, there will also be a month set aside for women. But for now, Uncle D, I think we deal with the statistics, with the existing statistics. 47,000 women were killed by their intimate partners, women and girls, in 2022 alone, through rapes, through honor killings, female genital mutilation, early marriages, trafficking, prostitution. And we are interested in the women and not even the statistics. And again, men have not produced that statistics.
We'll come to statistics. We'll come to statistics, Mrs. Nicoline Wenushe was connecting from Africa. Lady Nicoline, men worried about their wives becoming better educated or making more money than them. Are these men just being paranoid, or they have real problems to worry about?
I think this problem is like a coin, Uncle D, and a coin has two sides. Maybe men have issues to worry about. Maybe they're just being paranoid. I really think if somebody is more is richer than you, you work harder to become richer than that person. Likewise, if somebody is more educated than you, I think that on the other side, I think they're just being paranoid because you know where women are coming from. It is a patriarchal world. It is a world that men think they own it. It is a world that is made up of those gender stereotypes and social constructs, and men believe that they own the public spaces and women are supposed to stay in the private spaces and perform reproductive roles. So those men, when a woman outperforms them, they think that the woman is taking their place. When a woman outperforms a man, they think that the woman is diluting their patriarchy. They think that the woman is diluting their masculine, it's an affront to their masculinity. They think that the woman is attacking their hegemonic masculinity. This is just what is happening. Anything above that is just a misconception, because I don't think I think we should be using some examples. Uncle D, I've been married for 30 years, and when I met my husband, he was a medical doctor and I was in opposites, and he took over my education from there. And I think what we have been striving to do, both of us, is to make the biggest amount of money outside there, him on his part and me on my own part. And when we make that money, is good for the family because we pay our bills at ease. We resolve our financial issues at ease. So any man who has his self-esteem, any man who has confidence in himself, any man who understands that a woman, like a man, should have equal rights and equal opportunities, should work hard to outperform a woman if you think a woman by any chance has outperformed you. But abusing that woman, I think that man has a problem with his behavior. That woman has a problem with his confidence and self-esteem, and somebody should help him resolve that problem. The problem is not the woman.
We're going to see if there aren't times that women are also responsible for this insecurity that the husband would find himself. But Lady Nicoline, when I published this topic, some people pushed back asking for statistics which proved that some men worry about headaches emerging from the newfound academic and financial power of their wives. How do you respond to the rebuttals?
Yeah, I think there is statistics not directly relating to men reacting to their wives' success, but there is statistics that says 11% of male suicides are committed in homes. Okay, now that's what I said earlier, that we need to have figures of exactly what are men struggling with, that you want an international a month for men to be set aside. And I also justified with figures the different things that women are suffering with, the different challenges that women are facing, that we need an international women's month to disrupt them. So when 11% of male suicides are committed at home, we don't know what is the cause of this suicide. Is this because somebody sent a woman to school and then the woman is now rich and the man thinks the woman should be, I don't know. I don't know what you expect from your wife when, like me, my husband helped me to continue my education. And what does he expect from me that I am not doing? I am his wife. We pay the bills together, we resolve family issues together, and we do them with relative ease because we have two sources of income. So I don't know, maybe somebody needs to come up with a real issue before we can know what the person is talking about. But from also my experience as a matrimonial counselor, I have seen many of these men who come to me and complain that when I got married to my wife, she was a nobody. Today she is a somebody. Come on, man. Everybody strives in life to become a somebody. Why will you get married to me and want me to remain a nobody? If she has become a somebody, then respect her for who she is. If she's making more of the income, please look for ways. I think this thing is just about pride. It's just about greed. It's just about selfishness. It's just about the lack of self-esteem. If a man comes up to complain, because I've received like so many of such men in my matrimonial counseling who come to complain that my wife, I don't no longer recognize my wife because she's making money. Everybody wants to make money. Even Bill Gates is still making money. Why don't you want your wife to make money?
You say that your husband helped you acquire the much education that you have. The men who think that their wives owe them something probably must be drawing from scripture that says, to whom more is given, more is expected. Your husband gave so much for you to be who you are. Why is it wrong for him to expect so much from you?
I don't know what you mean by expecting. Let me take from the cases that I have, like the cases that I have entertained in the course of my matrimonial counseling. The men, I don't even know what they expect at the end of the day from the women, because every woman that every man that the man greets, the woman greets for the man is a boyfriend. That's the last case I had like 2 weeks ago. Every woman that she greets is a boyfriend. When she comes back from work after 8 p.m., she was with boyfriend. The men are just, I mean, you rightly said it's a type of pathology. It's a type of pathology that should be addressed. Because if it is about the bills and if there is dialogue in that house, you should agree on, you pay this bill, I pay this bill, and I pay this bill. If at the end of the month I am unable to pay my bill, I notify you on time that I might not be able to pay this bill. I think what is really lacking in most homes is dialogue. It is okay for a man to outperform a woman and earn more than a woman. But why is it always an issue when it is a woman? I would like somebody to help me address this issue.
Well,
because
people are going to dial in. I'm going to open the phone lines very soon for people to dial in and maybe support what you say or question you on what you say. Now, one would expect, Lady Nicolene, that a husband should celebrate a woman who's successful, who is making money. If the woman became like became a Mark Zuckerberg who owns Facebook, the husband should celebrate. If the woman became a Warren Buffett, the woman, or a Dangote in Africa, the husband should celebrate. These men must have a reason to feel fear. You're just not seeming to see it, Madam Waze.
I do understand, and I said it earlier, that these men, because you are normally supposed to celebrate success in your family. If she's your wife, she's the mother of your children, she's somebody's sister, we should be celebrating her success. If you see something wrong with her success, then I think the problem is with you, the man. Men don't want women to outperform them, because men, I said it earlier, it is a patriarchal world. Men have used toxic masculinities to look at women as toys for them, look at women as subordinate, look at women as secondary human beings. They don't understand that the same human rights that they have are the same human rights that women have, which they say are universal, they are inalienable, they are interdependent, they are indivisible and interrelated. They are the same human rights that women have. The moment you mention the Bible, the moment men begin to understand that God created us all human beings in his own image and likeness, and that before the eyes of God, we are all equal, and it is that natural justice that has been translated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights when they say we all human beings are equal before the law. So I don't understand. I still really find it, Uncle D, I deal a lot with matrimonial counseling, but I still don't have, no man has given me any pertinent reason why he feels threatened or intimidated by his wife. Apart from
hold
the
your
fact
thought
that
right there. We have somebody on the line from Seattle. Dr. Walter Photo, how are you? Welcome to Voices of Africa.
Mr. Divine Chamakon, good day to you. I am kind of running in between patients, but I found this topic to be important enough that we, set aside to say a few words about it.
Okay, Mrs. Wazes, listening to you, sir.
If I remember correctly, the question is, how would you feel like if your wife had a better job and earns more money than you?
That's right. Or maybe earned a PhD and you don't.
Well, I tell you what.
You are a medical doctor. If your wife, flip the coin, if your wife was the medical doctor and you are a nursing assistant.
Well, clearly that's a role reversal. I am a middle-aged African, and we grew up with certain roles. Our parents were, the father was the breadwinner, and the mother stayed at home, looked after the kids. She was the home engineer, the home manager, and the kids are the next generation. So looking after them was very important. But some things have changed. Some very fundamental changes have happened. We now live in the Western world. My wife is a nurse. Fortunately, she works from the house. And we increasingly see situations where, spouses have, for lack of a better word, they have a better job and they bring in more money. That's not the problem. The problem is, how does it affect the family dynamics? If the woman, the job is very challenging, that it affects her nurturing role in the family, then the husband and wife need to sit down and look at the role reversal and say, okay, I'm not able to, your wife is not going to be home by 5 o'clock, to get the kids back from school, their homework, feed them and get them ready for the evening and possibly the next day. So that conversation needs to happen. Also, before a woman moves to that top tier level, there's a pathway. She was going to school, she decided to get a PhD, or she decided to go to medical school. So one would expect that, the family unit, the husband and the wife, would have sat down and discussed these issues, so the coefficient of friction is minimized and in fact totally mitigated. But what if you walked into a situation where you married a woman who is already well made? This conversation still needs to happen, and hopefully, both parties can work out the dynamics, can work out, a modus vivendi, if you will, and discuss these things fully. I would hope that both parties would give, and take. It is a give and take. I am a surgeon by training. I spend a lot of days in the hospital, but over the weekends I cook. I cook for my wife, I cook for my family, and my kids love my kind of cooking, and I have no problems doing that. But I was trained to cook. I had taken the time to learn how to cook, and there are other things that I know how to do, that I help with the house, or I help in the house.
I have to say, Dr. Photo, that you're an extraordinary African. Some people, African men, would be shaking their heads and say, "What kind of money are you? I mean, have you become the woman in the house? You have to cook."
This is true. But part of, it's interesting. I have a couple of brothers, all four of them, and all of them cook very well. We actually have fun going to each other's place to cook. But you're right. I am the typical African. But we're also blessed living in a technological society. It doesn't take me up to 30 minutes to cook 2 dishes, because you have a very hot gas stove. You have storage capabilities. Our mothers did not. They would have to rely on the coal that lasted the night to then respec a fire, and then you know how it is, to put those tripod stones and cook, and it was difficult. But
Dr. Photo, you are a surgeon by training. Your wife is a nurse. Obviously, you make more money than she does. But do you, even if inadvertently, use your position as the better income earner to exert some form of control over your wife?
Control is not a good word. Control.
I used it deliberately, because that's what prevails in a lot of homes. Control.
Well, either way, either for the man or the woman, it's not a good word. There should be some harmony. There should be, for example, there's some issues. My wife has the last word on it, and I trust her. She's earned the right to have that last word on it. And there's some issues I have the last word on it, because she knows that, I have taken the time, I have put into place structures, things, policies that reflect, that I should have the last word on it. So it kind of boils down again to that harmony, to, what kind of person you have for a partner. I think increasingly love now has eyes, have a nervous system, it has a handbrake. If you take that allusion to cars, that you really have to choose your partner.
I have a last question for you, Dr. Soto.
Yes.
There are issues which your wife has the last word in, and there are others that you have the last word. How do you get the last word, one, without coming across to your wife as the boss? Or how do you get the last word, or how does she get the last word? How does she get the last word without coming across as challenging your authority?
Well, to say that doesn't come up in a relationship is a lie. There are times when there's some tension in the decision-making process, and sometimes you give, but there's something. For example, my son went to school in Africa, and I felt very strong about it. And I wanted him to go to school, and he went to school in Sacred Heart. And there was a lot of tension. And finally, I said, you know what? This is where we grew up. We came out with good values, and it's for that reason that I think our son should go to school in Africa. It did take some time. It wasn't an easy decision, but I felt that I could make the call on that. And she said, well, okay, she'll go to Africa, but he will stay for just O levels. And I said, oh, that's fine. So
wow.
He was down there for 4 years, And he came back and he was really fine. So
I have to tell you, Dr. Soto, that many people don't decide this easily. Sometimes little things can, like this, I mean, they look little, but they can spark
the major things.
Fireworks. They become major things.
Yeah, that's major. It took a whole year for that decision. I had to reach back to her family, my family, some background work. I did a lot of background work on that, and they got to her and kind of showed her the advantages of that. And, it turned out fine because he turned out a great kid, and, staying in that community, in that environment, culture, tradition really helped. So sometimes you have to, if you feel convinced about something, you have to hold the ground, but reasoning, as opposed to emotions, is going to have to carry the day.
Wow. Now, last word as we wait for Mrs. Wanusi Wazet to come back on the line. She's connecting from Africa with the challenges. All of us do know. She'll be coming back on the platform. My last question to you, sir, is what is the word? What's the advice you give people who are facing this kind of challenge and they just cannot surmount it? What would you tell them? You have a wife who has double masters, who just made a PhD, or is a bigger business guy, lady, making more money than you, probably smarter than you academically, and you're feeling that fear, that threat. What would you tell such men?
They like I said, there's a pathway, and you could see that coming when you married that woman. You felt that ambition in her, and you knew it would go somewhere. The issue is not really who, the issue is how that person who has acquired that education, that level of income, how they interact with you. That if they're lauded around you, the money does not come into the family kitty. I don't mean it in a bad way, but we all come from Africa with different agendas. She wants to look after her family, and that money does not circulate in that small family unit. There are all ways that this could bring friction. And it depends to a great extent, one, how the woman brings all of that to the table, two, how the man reacts to it, and three, how they both can then fashion something out that works for both of them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Soto.
Mr. Chamukong, it's great to be on your show. I think you're doing a terrific job. Hopefully sometime when I get more time, I will come in and we'll chat a little longer.
Looks like you have a lot to unpack. It looks like you have a lot to say. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
My name is Divine Chamakong, and we're waiting for Mrs. Nicoline Wenushi was there to connect back from Africa. You will have a wonderful time on this broadcast. Probably time for us to go to Texas, where another caller is on the line. This is Voices of Africa from Washington, live from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. In a moment, somebody's going to pick up a call in Dallas, Texas. That's at Okpa. Let's see if Ed Okpa comes on the line. If he doesn't, then we will move on to the next the next viewer. It looks like Ed is on the line. Hello, Ed.
Hello.
Good afternoon, sir. How is Dallas today?
Dallas is like God wanted to be.
Beautiful. The first question you would expect is, I mean, your wife is a big businesswoman. You are an educated guy, Harvard grad. Yeah, but are there times that you feel that you are the boss of the house? And why don't you feel threatened by the success, the academic success, the financial success of your wife, sir? It's setting a lot of homes ablaze.
Well, personally, I have never been somebody who is threatened by the success of somebody, especially if it's my wife. But I joke with my wife, if she wants me to change my last name to hers because of money, I'll change it, and she laughs at it. I mean, because I'm her biggest cheerleader. I want her to succeed. She's an electrical engineer by training. She's left that profession to do what she does now. So I think a peaceful house is going to be one where you know, you recognize that you're there to support each other, not to dominate each other.
You are an American of Nigerian origin. That isn't the practice. Would fellow Nigerians say, hey, look, this guy is just being pulled around like a sheep?
No, you know, I came from a polygamous family. My dad was a chief, and he had 5 wives. My mom's worked. They made money. My dad never felt threatened. So, again, I think it's a sign of weakness when any man is threatened by the success of their spouse. That is my interpretation. My former wife, this is my second wife, was a CPA. Okay. And she got it when she was 19, and MBA when she was 21. And she was a top auditor for a lot of these big American companies. And we were married. It was never about the money. I'm the one who always buy the cars, for them. I don't even say, how much you make and you have to do this for me. No. In fact, I tell my wife, if you want to do anything for your family members, you don't need my permission. Just let me know, because they're the ones that put you through school. So again, it has to come down.
Why do you think at Upper, you're calling from Dallas, Texas, why do you think that so many men feel this fright when Madame is maybe doing a double master's or doing a PhD and soon to be called professor or doctor this? Why do you think that a lot of men feel that fright?
Because it's insecurity. They're insecure. Maybe, like I said, I'd like to give personal example. My wife is always driving a much more brand new car than I do. So from time to time, I will ask her, can I use your car? And especially if I'm going to some of this Nigerian thing that takes forever. So I'll take her car and I say, hey, in 2 hours, call me to bring back the car. And she'll send me a text message, and I'll talk to the Nigerian guy. I say, hey, man, my wife said I should bring back the car. And their jaw always drop.
Why? Why is that jaw? Why are that jaws dropping? What kind of man is this? What kind of ego is this?
That's what they will say, because they were like, oh, it should be your car. I said, no. I still drive my 1987 BMW. I have a 69 Mercedes Benz, and all of those things don't drive me, don't motivate me. My wife always, I don't want my wife to drive older car, because if there's a problem, it's going to affect her movement.
What has changed you? I'm tending to believe that if you're in Nigeria, you might not be thinking the same way. Are you just Americanized?
No.
What American boy?
No, not that. I mean, I was my mom's only son. I have 4 sisters. So I've always believed that any guy who is marrying my sister should marry her because, you want to be the husband, both of you going to work together. My older sister was a first lady in Nigeria, and she was successful before they all got married, and the husband was never threatened by her. It's about 2 of you becoming one. And he never said the man has to be the one dominating. When my kids were young, I told my wife, you want to go happy hour with your friends, leave the kids with me. It's not. America didn't do anything for me that I wasn't already doing in Nigeria.
It's about 2 becoming one. Everybody says that, everybody knows that, they repeat that before the priests and pastors even. Sometimes you begin to wonder whether they really mean it. But so what happens? You pledge that 2 would become one, for better or for worse. And then at some point, Madame wants to do a PhD, it becomes a crayfish bone in your throat.
No. Again, if the woman is thinking that, because she's getting more academic accolades and making more money, and she's now going to start misbehaving towards the husband, then the relationship was never there. So again, okay, how Nigerians or Africans like the title. My wife, like I said, she's an electrical engineer, and I always joke with her. I say, how is it that when we are introduced, you are Mrs. Engineer and I'm just Mr.? And she will laugh, because I'm comfortable in who I am. There was a Nigerian guy from my village, actually, when he was getting married. The guy is a regular guy. The wife is a PhD in pharmacy or pharmacology, and they had to have a committee meeting. Oh, it's not going to look nice to say, Mr. and Dr. Chief. And I was like, come on. And actually, it was a deliberation. And then there was a Nigerian guy here. His wife wanted to go to law school, and he wouldn't let her. They had to call a village meeting, and I was like, "What?" So it's insecurity and a sign of weakness.
Now, my last question to you before I go to my guest on the platform, this trooper, super trooper in gender matters. Why is it that a lot of Africans have moved out of Africa and come to the United States and they're not changing, even with all the exposures?
It's because, again, some people are afraid of change. They're afraid of losing that contact. They're afraid of, am I an American now? Am I this? Am I going to look like, I'm deserting my people? What I tell people, I say, if the culture of Nigeria was good, I would never have left. So I wouldn't come here to do the same thing that I ran away from. I'm a Nigerian by birth. I'm a Nigerian. I'm my ancestry, my name. You can always trace me. But I don't eat Nigerian food. I don't dress Nigerian clothes. I don't marry my wife in a Nigerian way. In fact, my wife is Yoruba, and the culture of the Yorubas are different from the Igbos. When I proposed to her, I said, "Go tell your people I'm not going to come and prostrate on for your parents. If they're going to require me to do that, they might as well marry you." And she did. And nobody asked me to do that.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ed Up. We have so many callers on the line. In 30 seconds, you want to wrap up, please? Last word.
Okay.
How would you want to wrap up in 30 seconds, sir?
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, be yourself. Your culture is, your culture should not make your home unhappy or uncomfortable. Your wife has a brain, and if for whatever reason she's doing well, and you feel threatened by that, then leave her alone. Don't beat her up. There are Nigerian guys, a guy from my village that killed his wife in Dallas area because she was making more money. Why? Now he's serving a life sentence in Texas prison.
Thank you so much, Ed. Thank you so much, Ed Upper.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sir. And that's Ed Upper, who called in from Dallas in Texas. Thank you again for coming back, Lady Nicolene, when she was there. Nicolene, you've heard that. What do you think triggers it? I have to think that something deeper than just what we see underlies this violence, sometimes resulting in death, that we see in a lot of homes. And we see that even in Africa. You are from Cameroon, you see that. I saw something in Yaoundé happening, and it happens all over the place. So what is it? You have been in so many African countries on gender matters. What is it you are hearing from the counseling, from your travels, that underlie, that's at the root of this problem we are talking about today?
Thank you again, Uncle D. Before I delve into that question, I would like to acknowledge some things said by the two speakers. Dr. mentioned dialogue. In other words, men need to be level-headed. He also mentioned the incompatibility in decisions. At times, you don't agree on a decision, but because you dialogue to agree. What is the cause of gender-based violence? As you've said, from the statistics which I just mentioned, we have issues of masculinity. Men believe that doctor call it the reversal of rules. Men believe that certain rules must be played by them in society. Men believe, and this we're talking about toxic masculinities, some men believe that women are just objects in their hands. They attribute it to their cultures, they attribute it to whatever thing they attribute it to. But the reality is that women are suffering a lot from these men that have issues, behavioral, I'll call them behavioral, and I don't know, educational. We used to think it is educational, but today it's difficult to call it educational because even educated men, what is happening to these men Have you seen what the Taliban are doing in Afghanistan? The education of the girl child, 130 million girls, according to statistics, are denied education in 2023, and we are only in the month of March. So what is wrong with these men is the social construct, the way society is constructed. Men believing that they are more superior than women, or that they own the society. Men believe that they are bold, they are arrogant, and they should own it all. And women, as I said earlier, women should be in their houses. As doctor said earlier, when we were growing up, our mothers on their ID card, they had housewives. And our fathers, they will have farmer. Even though both of them were farmers, and the mothers were even at times producing more than doing more farming than the fathers. You will have on our mother's identity card, they are housewives, and on our father's identity cards, they are farmers. So this is where the problem comes from. You know, the month of March, women took a long time to be able to vote for their own representatives. Today, we are still struggling for women to own land. Men think that they own the land. We are still struggling for women to have access to loan, even for women to go to school. I just mentioned about 130 million children have been denied their right to education, even when we know that education is a development multiplier. So I think it's just a matter of social construct. It's not just a matter of upbringing, the way people were brought up to think that women are their subordinate. And the tables are changing, and these men who fail to understand that the tables are changing, they have issues, because there is no way any woman, you heard the story of women running away from Afghanistan to go to neighboring countries and go to school, because they know that education is the key. So this the causes of gender-based violence are around all of these things. They're around patriarchy, these toxic masculinities. They're around these cultural beliefs that women should be subjected to certain treatment. I mentioned the issue of female genital mutilation, early child marriages, and the list can go on and go on. These are the things that cause these violations against and the abuses against the right of women. And this year we are talking precisely, be it at the CSW, at the International Women, the theme is about bridging the digital gap. Because today men who don't want women to outperform them, they attack them online. They use the social media to destroy women.
Somebody is on the line. Please just hold your thought. You are watching. Please turn off your device there. Turn off your device. Turn off your device, please. Thank you so much. You are watching Voices of Africa, and we have somebody calling from Boston. Please turn off your device. Okay, now I think that's Cletus Hour from Boston. Good afternoon. Welcome on Voices of Africa. Cletus?
Hey, thank you very much, Uncle D, for welcoming me.
Thank you, sir.
The pleasure is mine.
Would you feel threatened? You're a businessman. I've known you in Africa for a long time as a businessman, a successful business guy, very smart. Flip the coin. If your wife became more successful than you, what's going to be your reaction? Just listen to me. Turn off every viewing device you have there, please. Just listen to me on your phone.
Thank you very much, Uncle D. As a matter of fact, if my wife became more successful than me economically or more educated, I will not only feel threatened, but I will feel very threatened.
Okay.
And I will feel very threatened because, Uncle D, you know, experience is the best teacher. And we have seen, me as an entrepreneur, I have seen many cases whereby some of my peers got married to women who were not even as educated as they were, though uneducated themselves. They invested in the education of these women. Some of them went to ENS, some of them went to wheresoever, and then came out now. Some even became doctors and lecturers in the universities, and now saw these husbands of theirs who made them who they became as a nobody before them. And you can understand why. It's because education, they say, is power. And same like money is equally power. And when you have power as a result of your education, you equally have power as a result of your wealth. What does that translate into? It automatically translates into authority. And now this made these women now bossy over their husbands. And we have seen them. So when some of us saw them, how did I, regulate that, not to be a victim of it, Mr. Divine, was that I rather, in as much as I would educate my own wife, I equally educated myself. Because it's not only, they will not only want to have this control as a result of their wealth and as a result of their education, but naturally, women from creation have always wanted to have control over their husbands. Even despite that, the Bible makes it very clear what the position of a woman should be. But many a times, women will not want to respect that biblical position of theirs because of that natural tendency of authority that they will always want to have over their husband. This is in Ephesians 5, verse 21 to 33. It reads, honor Christ and put others first. A wife should put her husband first, as she does the Lord. A husband is the head of his wife, as Christ is the head of and savior of the church. So you can see what the Bible equates a husband to before a woman. So when women are saying, it's not by error that even from our traditional evolution, women were even considered as properties of their husbands. And when women were considered like that, the marriages were more stable. It is not for nothing that when some of our women leave Africa, they come to a country like America, their marriages always break, even when it was the man who came first and did everything and brought them here. Why? Because it's like you took a fish from a desert and threw into an ocean. It's a cause for celebration, and celebration sometimes in excess. So I am not saying all this to say that men should not educate their wives, but there is a need to educate your wife, and there is a need to help your wife in whatever skills she has, make optimum income she can make from that.
I have a question for you.
Doing that, equally educate yourself and equally make more money so as to reduce that tendency of conflict.
I have a question for you.
Yes, Uncle Z.
So if I understand you, money in that circumstance, in the circumstance that the man should make more, becomes a control mechanism. Did I get you right?
Well, it is not that the man becomes a control mechanism. Why is it become? The man normally should be in control. Why do we want to say the man should become when from creation that authority was given to man by God? And there shouldn't be any other source of authority than that which is given by God. Can we dispute that?
Could there be situations that men have?
Should be in control. So even if a woman have money and is more educated, that should not be a reason for the woman to want to exert authority over the man.
Could there be, you talked about, hello, Cletus, you talked about power and authority. Could there be situations that men abuse power? Because so much power in the hands of a man could be abused as well.
I agree with you in that. And that is the reason why there is the law which regulates the relationship between a man and a woman in a marriage. But however, Uncle D, it also depends on context because we cannot generalize this thing.
Agreed.
Marriage, I have seen for myself that, you see, when we were in Cameroon, I could not warm water, Uncle D. I could not warm water on the fire since I got married to my wife. I could not. Why? Not because I was that kind of a man who exert authority excessively to a woman, but just because we grew up in that way that we knew that the wife was like the mother of the house. It was their duty to cook and do all that. You come back from work, she remove your shoes from your feet, remove your socks, and wash with some warm water and oil it, and you go and have a good sleep. But when I came to America, good enough, I didn't come with my wife. So I learned a bitter lesson because, Uncle D, I'm a very good cook. I cook achu and fufu and sanja, or whatnot you can think of, and very well. And I usually say that if my wife comes here today and is communicating who I've become to her peers, it will break many marriages back home. Why? Because the other women will have that tendency to go tell their husband, oh, Otis' husband, Mr. Awa, he cooks for the wife. He does this, he does that.
Let me ask you a last question.
The system in this country obliges.
Let me ask you a last question. What in African culture, all of us are Africans, and there are lots of Africans who will be watching this, and even non-Africans who will watch to learn, what in African cultures needs to be eliminated for better functioning of marriages?
Well, what should be eliminated for better functioning in marriages in Africa, I usually like to make reference to the law, because the law is always there to regulate the behaviors of people and bring justice and harmony between them. The law, I will take example from of our country, Cameroon. Do you know, Uncle D, that there is a law as far back as 1955, precisely, the section 27 sub 1 of the Southern Cameroon High Court law, 1955. That law is the authority of the law that abolishes traditional customs that were non-repugnant to natural justice, equity, and good conscience. And it was that provision of the law that was used by a woman to break that status quo of female non-inheritance of property. It was that tradition, that law that was used to break that status quo of the tradition of the mutilation of the female genitals of the Manu people to reduce the sexual age of their women to improve upon their fidelity to their men. So, if this aspect of the law is respected, and because of course everybody is obliged to respect the law, if you don't respect it, you'll be punished, it will reduce the tendencies of conflict.
Okay, thank you so much. There are so many people on the line. I have been listening to Mr. Cletus Awa on the line from Boston. Are you in Boston?
Yes, I'm right in Boston.
All right, so much to say about what you've unpacked. Thank you for dialing in, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. The pleasure was mine.
Lady Nicolene, I see you shaking your head. What is it that tends to perpetuate this? Even you have Africans who've come to the United States and they are remaining the Africans that their fathers and grandfathers were back in Africa. Culture, what should be eliminated in your view? You are a gender super trooper. I keep calling you a gender super trooper. What is it in our cultures that you believe is repugnant to modern day marriage?
I think what is in our culture that is repugnant, Cletus finally flipped the coin. And what is repugnant in our culture is the mindset of people. I think it really has to do with the mindset, because Cletus is citing the laws and the principle of repugnancy and equity and natural justice, and he still thinks that a woman should be submissive to the wife, or what?
To the husband, you
Before
mean?
I even come, before I even come to that, Uncle D, why will you give what you don't have? Why will you spend your money on educating a woman when you are not educated? You are either dull or you don't know the value of education. And I told you I got married before I did my advanced level 3 master's degree and where I am today. But because my husband was educated and knew the value of education, he actually knew that I was going to school to come out and better the well-being of the marriage. Somebody who is sending a woman to school who is not himself educated does not even know the value of education, and it does not surprise me if he thinks because the woman is smart and intelligent and ambitious, he sees something wrong with that. Now, these barriers, they are man-made. They are made out of greed. These are the people who think that women, why will you unordinarily go to get married to somebody's child and you want that child to remain, I don't know whatever you want her to be. This is, we have issues of ignorance, we have issues of greed and selfishness in all of this, and that is why somebody will think that a woman that has gone to school should, I don't know, remain. What is wrong with cooking? Who said when we go to sign the antenuptial whatever or marriage certificate, where is it stated on my marriage certificate or on your marriage certificate that the woman should be the one cooking, or the man should be the one, should not be cooking achu, the woman should be pounding achu? Where are these rules written? From my law classes, I was told that men are women, and women, when they get married, they are partners. They are partners in a joint enterprise. The enterprise of keeping the home and bringing up the children. And when this enterprise can no longer exist, that is why there is the law on divorce. Simply divorce. If you think that your wife has outperformed you, if you think that your wife is too smart to be your wife, let her go. Everybody in this world is striving to succeed. You cannot stop somebody from succeeding because of your low self-esteem, because of your incompetence, or I don't even know how to call it, because of your own mindset that should be the mindset of the 18th century when we are in the 21st century.
Here's what some people are saying. All boils down to power and control in the marriage. That's sent in by Abia State. Gutlegenter in Germany says, greetings. And Dosak Thomas says, great program. Dr. Ilo is the person who has designed this platform to look this dazzling. Dr. Ilo says, looking good. Thank you, Dr. Ilo. And now here's what Boytek says. The modern woman, I think, is so confrontational. That's why things are the way they are. Andy Ekane says, greetings, the best for free. The best for free, sir. Thanks, Sir Divine. Thank you so much. Now, Cletus raised what I thought was a very pertinent point. He talked about experiences that other men have gone through. If you're a man and you hear other friends have gone through women who have become what they are, they cannot submit, they're insubordinate. Why shouldn't you be apprehensive of your own wife trying to get a PhD or trying to get more money, make more money than you?
Uncle Z, no man should, education is a fundamental human right. I think what we should do is we agree that there is what they call antenuptial agreements. People don't usually sign that agreement, but it does exist. I think couples should learn to sign. Agree that you will stop your education, you'll be a housewife. If we agree on those things, okay, good and fine. But if we don't agree on those things in the 21st century, when everybody is ambitious, when everybody is becoming smarter, when women are gaining spaces, women are literally taking over the STEMs, and you name all the other things. Doctor talked of his wife, or the second speaker talked of his wife as an electronical engineering. And he also mentioned somebody who thinks his wife should not be properly addressed because by so doing, the man loses his self-esteem. Oga, if that is your stand, divorce that woman, let her go. You are not the right choice for that woman. The incompatibility is too big. Let that woman go. Everybody in this life is striving to succeed. If you think that because I am doctor and you are just Mr. and you cannot be my husband, let me go. Full stop. There is no need arguing over this thing, Uncle D. Oh my God.
You are watching Voices of Africa at on Chat Night Africa. Your room is a little bit dark there, Nicolene. You probably want to light it up. I will be bringing you back on the platform momentarily. And my name is Divine Chamakong. I am in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Hello, Roy Mama. Roy Mama. She is another super trooper in social media, big woman in social media communications.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
We will have a little musical break. I hope that lights haven't gone out in Yaoundé, where Nicolene Wenishi is. She's connected, but her room is kind of dark. I'll bring her back after this musical transition. Let me also inform you that you can watch this broadcast. You don't have to be on YouTube to watch this broadcast. You can watch it on www.chatnightafrica.net. It's also on YouTube. It's also on my timeline. It's also on LinkedIn. It's also on the broadcast page for Chat Night Africa on Facebook, followed by thousands and thousands of Africans. Let's have this song by Heatwave, the Heatwaves of Cameroon. You will enjoy it. Let's have it on.
This time to celebrate the woman. Woman, woman, woman. Let the world celebrate the woman. A world would mean nothing without a woman. Let the world give women a chance. Are you a woman? Woman, 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 woman. Jimmy Bombo. Let the world celebrate the woman. Jimmy Megwe Mago. A world would mean nothing without a woman. Jimmy Tinyambo. Let the world give women a chance. Sister, the girl, child, and the mother, you are a woman. Let the world give women a chance. Why celebrating the woman? Socio-political, cultural, economic achievements of the woman in the past, present and future. Let the world give women a chance. Who is a woman? The most sensitive, so caring, so tender. The most loving in the world. Empower the woman. Educate the girl child. Woman's right is human right. No to violence against women. No, 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 no. No. No, 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 no. Pas de violence, pas de violence à la femme. Wirakani, wirakani. No. Yeah, we find it. Pas de violence à la femme. Tu cherches l'enfant, tu y amour, elle accouche dans les douleurs. Pas de violence à la femme. Tu rentres la nuit, tu sens encore cigarette, tu tapes sur la femme. Pas de violence, non. Pas de violence à la femme. Pourquoi violenter la femme dans le monde entier? Je dis non. Pas de violence, pas de violence à la femme. Violence physique, psychologique, économique,
harcèlement sexuel, pas de violence à la femme. Gomil misou, me. Gomil misu me. Ninjiwe. Wangfu warkele. Gomil misu me. I'm shedding my tears for the woman. I'm shedding my tears for the woman. Cry in the place of the woman. Shedding my tears. I'm shedding my tears for the woman. Where she getting jimwena. Shedding my tears. I'm shedding my tears for the woman. Celebrate, woman. Celebrate, woman. Jingwe nambo afraid, woman. See you born, celebrate, woman. Celebrate, woman. Let's celebrate the woman. Let's celebrate the woman. This is who said God give. Celebrate, God has given to all. Celebrate, woman. See you born in woman, celebrate, woman. See you born in
Celebrate woman. Celebrate woman. Celebrate woman. Celebrate woman. Non à la violence à la femme, hein?
We love Child Night Africa. Keep watching Child Night Africa.
And right now we have once again our fighter for women. This one is firebrand. That's Lady Nicoline when she was in Cameroon. I have to say, you feel good when you hear celebrate woman, celebrate woman. You feel good, huh?
Those are men who are living with the time. When they celebrate the woman, they know what they are doing.
Hey, look, I celebrate you, Lady Nicoline. I celebrate. By the way, all my children are daughters. I just celebrate them. They're wonderful children. I love them to the moon and back. I celebrate all of you. Lenita, Diane, Vaken, and the rest, I just celebrate you, Brenda. So you are watching. Okay, the Queen of Talk Show says, that's Roy Mama says, beautiful song. Thank you, Roy Mama. You are a game changer in social media. I have a powerful letter, but before I go to the letter, there is Herbert Chimanga in, I think, Lana, Maryland, who is on the line. He has something to say. Let's see if I can. Hello, Herbert.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Voices of Africa, broadcast live from Washington, D.C. metropolitan area.
The pleasure is mine, Divine, and permit me to say hi to Mrs. when she was in Nicoline.
She's listening to you, watching, listening.
And congratulate her and encourage her for all the drives she's been making towards gender issues and trying to uplift the equality of women and thereby ensuring peaceful coexistence between men and women. I think if some men have to be afraid or scared by the academic or financial success of their spouses, is because most of our values, of our African values in particular, we've thrown them into the doldrums. Marriage is essentially a union between man and woman, and they come into that marriage irrespective of whether they are rich or whether they are poor or whether they are educated. Although the saying goes that love is blind, but more often than not, it is not always blind. But when you come together, you work together and to ensure that the family succeeds. Back at home, we see that the rate of, the rate of divorces is not common in those traditional societies. When you start moving up and going down to towns, you find the rate of divorce becoming more. And when you get to the developing countries, it is even worse. because everybody wants to live on his own. You know, if some men have to be scared, it's because of the activities of some women, as earlier speakers had said. They suddenly become educated, or even educated by their spouses, by their husbands, or they get rich, and they say, yes, we too, we are also rich now. We can also, like somebody said, a fish inside water. We suddenly find ourselves in work and in education. You can go places. We can also do what you used to do, but forgetting that the basis of marriage should be love, irrespective of the type of education or world that we have. So traditional norms and of the society, particularly back in Africa, if they were to be implemented, I don't think anybody should be scared that my spouse is suddenly richer or more educated than
I'm
me.
going to ask you a question, Mr. Herbert Chimanga. What is it that's giving a lot of Africans in the diaspora, I'm talking about men, for example, what is it that is giving them so much trouble? Is it that they are unable to adapt to their new environment and they're just being who their grandparents and parents were in Africa? What is it?
No, I think it is more because of the behavior of some women who suddenly find that they can also, you know, have that liberty. They have that affluence to do what the men can do, and they want to overrule their husbands.
If you hear a woman say, I know my right, does that threaten you? Is that a problem for you? Why should you know your right and not a woman to know her right?
No, where your rights end is where my own to also start. Everybody should know his own standing in society.
Why does that come across as a threat to the husband when a woman says, I know my right?
If she knows his right, and the end where as her role as a husband, with these rules, even legally, they are prescribed. So the husband should also have his own role to play in society.
Before I let you go, Mr. Chimanga, question: are there certain things you think, especially men in the diaspora, ought to adapt when they come here? Adjust. What adjustment men who traveled from Africa to here with their wives, or they came here and then their wives followed? What do you think is there for them to adjust to?
Reinforcement of that equality between men and women, but not you still have men some roles which strictly only the man can do, and others which strictly only what the men can do. You know, if you come to my house and you certainly find a woman under the car fixing the car while I sit there in the sofa, or me, a man in the kitchen cooking, somebody, be it even in the developed world or the third world, somebody should feel that there is something wrong. Or a woman is sitting in the sofa and it is the man who is washing the baby. Once in a while, she can take care of the baby, change the nappies, and do all those type of things. But this is traditionally women's role and men's role. So we should know that there is some equality, but women have certain things which should be done by the women, if both of them are present, and others which should be done by the man.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Herbert Chimanga. You are in Lana, Maryland, are you?
Specifically in Lanham. Everything is doing fine.
All right.
Madam Nicolene, and say hi to Dr. Waze.
All right, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Divine.
All right, so good. So, Lady Nicolene, it's getting really, really hard. People are taking different positions. When you are a human rights campaigner, a gender fighter for women's rights, when people talk about equal rights between men and women, when we know, on the other hand, that each person has a role to play because of gender, what do you mean by equal rights?
When we talk of equal right, Uncle D, thank you, Chimanga. I will greet Doctor. Thank you for your contribution. When we talk of equal rights, we are talking about human rights. That is, equal rights mean equality, equal opportunities. If a woman can be an electrical engineering, as somebody said here that his wife is an electrical engineering, nobody gets up in the morning and become an electrical engineering. It takes years and years of education. So if a woman can give in those years, if she has the intelligence to give in those years and obtain those certificates, let her be the director of electrical engineering in that company that she works in. Let not no man who has not acquired the competence to be the director of an electrical engineering company become one just because he is a man. This is the equality we are talking about. We are trying to say that the rights of a woman are also the rights of they are also human rights. So when we talk about rights, like everybody here seems to be talking about rights, but at the same time, everybody here seems to be thinking that something should be taken away from the rights of the woman to make up for the rights of the man. The fact that a woman enjoys her rights, enjoys equal opportunities, do not stop a man from doing same. I don't know why men continue to think that we are a threat to their lives. We are not. We are equal partners. I said it earlier, in a joint enterprise. And in that enterprise, what determines who you are should be your competence. If it is education, it should be your education. That is my take. It's as easy as that. It is. This thing is about
an important question. I think this question, I kept it for last. Everybody would like to hear your answer.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
Before I ask you the question, here is what the queen of talk show in social media, Roy Mama in, I think, Florida says, men in this era should be proud of working women, not be threatened or intimidated by a strong and hard working woman. Thank you, Roy. Mama, thank you so much for following this show. The question that everybody, men who feel threatened, must be having, that's burning a hole in their pockets, Lady Nicolene, is what are you going to tell women who also, because of their PhDs, their triple masters like you have, because of their double masters, because they've become big business women, have become a real choking thing to their husbands at home. Women who were never like that. What is it you have to tell them?
That's just a category of women. Uncle D, remember, not all men are violent, right? When we talk about men being violent, not all men are violent. So it is also normal that we have an exceptional category of women that allow their achievements to drive them out of the reality. They do exist. I didn't say they don't exist. They do exist, but we shouldn't generalize, because those are an exception, an exceptional category of women. And again, we don't just condemn these women without knowing what are the power relations within the household. What are the power relations within the household? If I have been to school all my life with 3 master's degree and I can earn my money, and do you know that there are some men who, even though their wives work in higher positions than them, make money than them, they deny that they cannot eat food that is cooked by house helps? The wife must come back at, I don't know, 10 p.m. and go to the kitchen and cook food. No, that's enslavement. That is enslavement, and these are the things we are talking about. We have never said that we have those few women, an exceptional case of women who are overtaken by their successes and their achievements in life. But what we are saying is that men and women should have equal opportunities. And Doctor said it at the beginning. It is about dialogue. There is no one size fits all way of making a good house or a good marriage. It should be a matter of fact, and depending on the circumstances surrounding every marriage. And that's why I said, I think more and more young people should be signing the prenuptial agreement. They should enter into a prenuptial agreement, how they want their house to, how they want their marriages, their relationships to be. Because
you talk about the importance of dialogue. Nicolene, everybody knows it. What is it that is stifling dialogue? I'm not sure that somebody goes to a marriage not knowing that you should be dialoguing with your spouse, but the dialogue is not taking place.
the dialogue is not taking place because of the things that we have
Or
discussed
when the
on
dialogue
this.
takes place, the two folks in the marriage are behaving like two lawyers in a courtroom. One a defense lawyer, one a prosecutor. It's about who wins.
That's exactly what we are talking about. When you don't lay your marriage, when you don't start your marriage on a certain foundation, it will be difficult for it to grow on a certain ground. We see more and more today, young people just go and do the spectacle that they do it. You don't see anything in the name of marriage in it. And 3 weeks, 2 months after, you start talking about divorce, issues of incompatibility, and sometimes divorce or abuse. It even leads to killings. We've seen there are so many issues of spouses killing one another, men killing women, women killing men. It's because I think the sacrament of marriage has an issue that has to be. There's a difference between a marital partner and a business partner. People more and more go into.
One is transactional. What do I get from it?
One is becoming more and more transactional. Uncle D, this is what I'm trying to say. It's becoming more and more transactional. They become more of business partners than marriage partners. When people can sit down and ask themselves, we all come from somewhere. People can sit down and ask themselves, what is this relationship that we want to start? Is this a transactional relationship or is a marriage relationship? The law says when a man and a woman come together, the society endows them with certain rights and obligations.
We have
so
to,
before you go.
Yes, I'm going to call you up for your last word. Time for us to read this letter written by Lady Evelyn Joy in Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. The documented killings testify to this sad reality. The empirical data is overwhelming. What broadens the conversation is, why is it happening? It can be multifaceted. First, it's important to be clear and acknowledge that many African men are cheerleaders of their wives, fiancés, girlfriends, as they ascend or pursue paths to actualize their drives or potentials. And then she goes on, notwithstanding the fact that good men are plenty, it should not be minimized. The horror at the other end of the spectrum. It is not limited to married couples. One subservient, compliant partner who later asserts her basic independence or liberty may trigger reactions including death. She goes on, in Houston, a Nigerian butchered his wife, his Cameroonian fiancé, in front of her friend. The friend was hurt but didn't die. Remember the Ghanaian pastor who gunned down his wife, shooting her 7 times in front of her job in Orlando. The mayhem and violence, as many as each, is chilling. Oh boy, we could go on and on and on. And the source, she says, is inferiority complex. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we are going to bring on back to the platform Lady Nicolene Nwenushi Waze. She's a jurist. She's a gender super trooper in all those matters, you know. She's a peace education instructor. Ladies and gentlemen, here is our friend back on the platform.
Thank you, Uncle D.
This is what, for your last word, this is what Marcel Gallagher says. No African can ever be more westernized than the indigenous of these lands. So why are we Africans not embracing, why are Africans not embracing their cultures and living the way their parents did? Oh boy, what is the culture we're talking about? What is the way their parents lived? Well, you can have plenty to say about this, Nicolene. So what's your last word before we go?
I think the culture of subjugation,
Men and speak to women.
the culture of subjugation is no culture that anybody should want to uphold.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, the culture of subjugation is no culture that anybody should want to uphold. What is certain here, my last word is that we have toxic masculinity and some toxic feminism. But at the end of the day, as the letter says, there are lots and lots of good men outside there, and there are lots of good women outside there. So we don't take the bad ones, the few bad ones should not make us think that marriage is not a good thing or living together is not a good thing. And for those men who think that women should continue to be to be at the level of reproduction and private sphere, I will simply just tell them to conclude that women are organizing in agency either individually or collectively or otherwise. Especially young women are daring and they are competent. They are empowered and continue to grow their self-esteem. Women are staring all over the world angrily. They know that men have failed humanity because of greed, selfishness, and egocentrism. If you really want peace in the world, I think those men who think that women are not equal to men, they should simply just get the hell out of the way of women, because we know that we are equal to men and we can even outperform men. That is why men are worried, because we are outperforming them. And this movement, there is no going back. We can only go ahead. It is rather unfortunate that the COVID-19 and all the wars have like distance gender equality like by 300 years. But don't worry, we'll catch up.
Thank you so much. And the last comment from James Tato says, this happens mostly with Africans from Africa, because the women, I'm assuming he means Africans in the diaspora, because the women are brainwashed as soon as they travel to the Western world. I don't know about that. Again, I'm not talking as the broadcast anchor, I'm talking as a parent. I have children. I'm not sure I'm going to tolerate any husband who thinks my child should not go as far as she wants in life. It's just not going to happen. Yeah, it's just not going to happen. And if that kind of guy hurts my daughter, he rather prays that the police shows up before I show up, because it'll be so nasty. I wouldn't mind going to prison, defending my daughter, or acting in defense, or protection of acting to protect my daughter. It's just not, because girl children are human beings. We cannot treat them just anyhow because they're girl children. If you went to school, why shouldn't your wife go to school? It's not making sense to me. But ladies also, come on. If you've become more educated than your husband, still respect him. Sometimes that's where these problems start. Lack of respect because madam now backs a PhD or maybe making so much money. So please, we need to respect each other. First, as human beings, I should respect you. If I disagree with you, we should be able to disagree in a respectful way. Lady Nicoline, thank you so much. It's late now in Yaoundé, Cameroon, and I believe your husband needs you. You know what I mean? Okay, thank you for connecting. Thank you.
Thank you, Uncle D. It was a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's how we wrap up this edition of Voices of Africa. I'm asking my friend, the queen of talk show in social media, Roy Mama, Rosemary, Ewanga, and many others who are watching, please respond to the many comments that are in the green room. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I want to thank all the women who've been powerful, passionate supporters of this platform. I want to thank my producer in Lagos, Roger Full, who stayed up to make sure that this program looks the way it is. I want to also thank Dr. Elo. Dr. Elo is in Virginia, in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area, who designed this platform to look the way it is. We keep looking for ways to make it sweet. Merci à tout le monde. My name is Divine Chamakong. It's time I say goodbye. I will see you soon, and very, very soon. Bye for now.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming. Coming to get down. I'm coming. I'm coming. Coming to dance. To dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna dance. We're gonna get down. We're gonna get down. We're gonna party. Party hardy. We're gonna boogie. Boogie woogie. And when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready. I'm coming back.